There's a truth about this world that most people will never accept, a truth that makes them uncomfortable, because it destroys the fairy tales they've been fed since childhood. They were told that kindness wins, that honesty brings success, that hard work alone will make them free. But look around, is that what you see? No, what you see is power. And behind that power is money. Money is not just paper, it's permission, it's armor, it's a weapon. It's the invisible force that decides who speaks and who gets silenced, who eats and who starves, who rises and who gets crushed. You may not want to hear this, but the world does not care about your dreams, your decency, or your good heart. It cares about one thing: resources, the ability to control them, to move them, to multiply them. And in this world, money is the master resource. If you don't have it, you are exposed. You are at the mercy of those who do. Every bill becomes a fear. Every decision must be approved by someone richer than you. And the terrifying part? You might think you're free, but you're not. Because as long as someone else can decide how much your time is worth, you're still owned. But Machiavelli, he understood something most people still refuse to see. Centuries ago, he wrote that a ruler without wealth is a ruler without power. A king without gold is just another man waiting to be replaced. He knew that money is not just survival, it's strategy, it's control, it's the foundation of every empire ever built. And yet most people are trained to think small. They are told, save a little, spend less, be grateful, be humble. They're trained to play safe, to crawl through life hoping for a raise, a bonus, or a break. They measure success by comfort, not by control. But comfort is a trap. Comfort is how power keeps you quiet. Because the moment you think you have enough, someone else is building an empire over you. Machiavelli would laugh at the idea of living for comfort. He'd tell you, comfort is the enemy of greatness. While you're resting, your rivals are rising. While you're saving pennies, they're buying influence. While you're playing defense, they're conquering markets. The rich are not smarter. They just understand the real game being played. They understand that money bends rules. It softens enemies. It buys time, loyalty, and silence. They understand that money doesn't just protect you, it transforms you. When a man with money walks into a room, the air changes. People lean in. They listen differently. They speak carefully. They see possibility. But when a man without money walks in, the room barely notices. His words echo into nothing. His needs sound like begging. His dreams are seen as fantasy. Money changes perception, not just of others, but of yourself. Because when you have it, you walk differently. You think differently. You act with authority. Without money, you live reacting to the world. With money, you shape it. That's why Machiavelli's wisdom is more relevant today than ever before. We live in a world that worships wealth while pretending to despise it. A world where justice, opportunity, even morality, all bend around money. The one who controls money controls the narrative, and the one without it lives inside someone else's story. So you have two choices. You can keep believing the comforting lie that money isn't everything, that good things come to those who wait. Or you can wake up, you can understand the game for what it really is. A battlefield, not fought with swords anymore, but with dollars. Every bill you hold is a weapon or a weakness. Every dollar you waste is a soldier that could have fought for your freedom. Machiavelli would tell you, if you don't pursue massive wealth, if you don't fight to build a fortress of money so strong that no one can control you, then you will forever live under the rule of those who did. So ask yourself, do you want to be remembered as the one who dreamed or the one who conquered? Because in the end, the world doesn't reward the kind, it rewards the powerful. And in this era, power has one name: money. Let's dive deeper, because this is where the real battle begins. Not in your wallet, but in your mind. Money doesn't just exist in banks or accounts, it lives in psychology. It shapes how people see you, how they treat you, and even how you see yourself. And this is where most people lose before the game even starts. They're trained from birth to think small, to believe that money is dangerous, that wanting more makes you greedy, ungrateful, or even evil. But here's the dark irony. That idea was planted by those who already have money, because as long as you feel guilty about wanting wealth, you'll never fight for it. And as long as you never fight for it, they keep control. Look around you. The system isn't broken. It's designed exactly as intended. To keep most people obedient, predictable, and poor, you go to school, learn to follow instructions, get a job, pay taxes, and hope to retire before your body gives out. They call it security, but it's not security. It's containment. You're safe enough to work. You're comfortable enough not to rebel. You're distracted enough to forget that your time, your life, is being sold for pennies. That's how the machine survives. And the more comfortable you get, the tighter the chains become. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He saw how rulers controlled the masses, not through swords, but through dependence. Keep the people needing you, and they'll never rise against you. Today, the weapon isn't the sword, it's the paycheck. When you rely on a job just to survive, you have no freedom. Your time isn't yours. Your choices aren't yours. Even your opinions start to bend to please the hand that feeds you. That's why the poor stay trapped. Not because they're lazy, but because their mindset has been programmed for survival, not dominance. They trade time for money. They chase comfort instead of control. They live for weekends and holidays, small escapes from the cages they built. And when someone says, "I don't care about money," they wear it like a badge of honor. But it's not pride, it's surrender. Because deep down, they do care. They just don't believe they can have it. So they cope. They tell themselves stories to make their cage feel like a castle. They say things like, "Money can't buy happiness," as if poverty can understand this. The rich don't think that way. They see money for what it truly is: leverage, a tool to buy time, to buy freedom, to buy peace. They don't worship money. They use it. They deploy it like an army. Every dollar is a soldier that must go out and return with more allies. That's how the rich stay rich, not because they're lucky, but because they think in systems, not in survival. They know that if you want to change your life, you must first change your mindset. You can't rise with the same beliefs that kept you comfortable. The poor think about earning. The rich think about multiplying. The poor save to survive. The rich invest to expand. One plays defense, the other plays offense. And here's the real twist. The game is psychological. You are never actually broke when your mind is rich. But even with a full bank account, you can still be poor if your thinking is small. Ask yourself, why do most people stop at enough? Enough to pay bills, enough to get by, enough to feel comfortable. Because enough is the language of control. It keeps you quiet, it keeps you predictable, it keeps you out of power. Machiavelli would say, a man who settles for enough will always be ruled by the man who demands more. And that's exactly what happens. While you save for retirement, someone else is buying the company you work for. While you play it safe, someone else is leveraging risk to build empires. While you wait for opportunity, someone else is creating it. That's why the world worships wealth. Not because of greed, but because deep down, every human instinct respects power. We are wired to follow those who have more. Even children understand this. The kid with the biggest toy gets the attention. The one who controls the resources controls the room. That doesn't change when we grow up. It just gets more expensive. So what's the lesson here? You must reprogram how you see money. You must kill the fear of wanting more. You must erase the guilt of ambition. Because money itself is not evil. It only amplifies who you already are. If you are generous, it makes you more generous. If you are cruel, it makes you more cruel. Money is neutral, but power is not. And in this world, power listens only to those who have the means to command it. So stop playing small. Stop waiting for permission. Stop pretending that survival is success. You were not born to just get by. You were born to build, to command, to rise. And the first step to that rise is to master the psychology of money. Because once your mind shifts, your world follows. Once you stop fearing money, you start attracting it. And when that happens, you no longer chase power. Power starts chasing you. You understand now that money isn't just paper. It's power. It's freedom. It's your only real defense in a world that feeds on weakness. So the question becomes, how do you build so much money, so much power, that no one can touch you? Not a little. Not just enough to survive. I'm talking about fortress-level wealth. The kind that makes you untouchable. Because here's what most people get wrong. They think making money is the goal, but the real goal is control. Control of your time, control of your decisions, control of your destiny. And that control is only possible when your wealth builds walls that no one can climb. Let's be clear, there are two kinds of wealth in this world. The first kind is fragile wealth. It looks good on paper, a nice car, a house, maybe some savings. But one bad month, one accident, one crisis, and it all collapses. The second kind, the kind Machiavelli would demand, is fortified wealth. Wealth so thick, so diversified, and so strategic that not even a storm can shake it. That's the wealth that grants real power. Because when you have fortress wealth, you don't just survive chaos, you profit from it. So how do you build this fortress? It begins with one word: leverage. The poor trade time for money. The rich use money, systems, and people to multiply time. Every hour of your life is a resource. Every dollar's a soldier. And if your soldiers aren't working while you sleep, you're losing the war. Machiavelli would say, the wise ruler builds defenses in times of peace, not when war has already begun. Translation: you start building your fortress now, not when you're desperate. Start by changing your relationship with money. Stop hoarding it like a miser. Stop spending it like a fool. Start deploying it like a strategist, because every dollar you let sit idle is a wasted soldier. Every dollar you invest wisely becomes an ally that brings reinforcements. Let's talk strategy. There are three pillars of a financial fortress: income streams, assets, and protection. First, income streams. Most people rely on one stream of income. Their job, that's not income. That's dependency. One boss, one paycheck, one decision away from collapse. You need multiple rivers feeding your fortress, a business that runs without you. Investments that grow while you sleep. Intellectual property, royalties, rental income, digital products. Streams that feed you endlessly, because the man who has one source of income is a servant. The man with many is a master. Second, assets. Assets are the bricks of your fortress. They are what keep your empire standing when everything else falls. The poor chase income. The rich chase assets. Income feeds you once. Assets feed you forever. Buy assets that produce, not impress. Real estate that pays rent. Businesses that generate cash flow. Stocks, funds, or platforms that grow without your daily effort. Every asset is a wall, and every wall raises your defense. Third, protection. A fortress is not complete without guards, because when you acquire wealth, enemies appear: taxes, lawsuits, inflation, even your own impulses. Protection means learning the rules of money so no one can use them against you. It means structures, companies, trusts, entities that shield you from attack. It means insurance, diversification, and liquidity, so your castle never crumbles. Machiavelli would say, the wise ruler does not leave his fortress unguarded, even when peace seems eternal, because peace is always temporary. Now let's talk psychology, because the true fortress begins in your mind. Most people fail to build wealth because they think in scarcity. They believe the world has limits. That opportunity is rare. That abundance belongs to someone else. But the truth? Money is infinite. It flows like a river, always moving, and those who learn how it moves can redirect it toward themselves. You don't chase money. You attract it through value, strategy, and execution. You make it flow to you by solving problems, not by chasing pennies. Every empire begins with this mindset. I am the source, not a beggar asking for wealth, a commander directing it. Picture your fortress. Thick walls of income streams protecting you. Towers of assets standing tall, unshakable. Armies of dollars working day and night, conquering new lands while you rest outside your walls. Chaos. Markets crash, economies shift, people panic. But inside, calm, control, power, because you prepared. You built when others slept. You planted when others spent. You rose while others waited. That's what it means to acquire so much money. Money that shields you from fear, money that silences enemies, money that buys your freedom and the freedom of your bloodline. And when that fortress stands, you don't just live in it, you rule from it. You've built the fortress, you've created walls of protection, streams of income, towers of assets. Now it's time to take the next step, the one most people fear to take, because money sitting still is safety. But money in motion is power. The next level is not just to have wealth, it's to weaponize it, to use money as Machiavelli intended, as a tool to command, to influence, to bend the world in your favor. Because in the real game of life, the rich don't just own things, they control people, systems, and narratives, and they do it with money. Let's make something clear. Power doesn't always look like force. It often looks like influence. It's the quiet ability to make others act according to your interests, without them even realizing it. Machiavelli wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." But in today's world, you don't need to be feared. You just need to be funded, because money commands attention. Money writes laws. Money decides what gets seen, what gets silenced, who wins and who disappears. The man with power can be wrong and still be right. The man without it can be right and still be ignored. That's the true hierarchy of the modern world. So how do you weaponize wealth? How do you make money move mountains for you? The answer lies in influence, and influence operates in 3 dimensions. First, control of resources. Money gives you leverage. When you control the flow of capital, you control the options of others. People follow those who can provide opportunity. If you can give someone what they need, you control their decisions. Corporations do this, governments do this, but individuals can too. When you own the supply, you dictate the demand. When you fund the opportunity, you set the rules. That's how power quietly shifts hands, not by force, but by funding. Second, control of information. In the digital age, attention is currency. Money doesn't just buy products, it buys perception. Those who can fund media, content, education, or messaging can shape how the world thinks. The narrative belongs to those who can pay for the microphone. That's why the wealthy invest in influence. Media companies, political campaigns, entertainment, technology. They don't just want profit, they want control of perspective. Because if you can control what people believe, you control what they do. Third, control of access. Money opens doors that effort never will. It gets you into rooms where power deals are made, the rooms the poor don't even know exist. That's why the elite operate in networks, not jobs. They trade access, not hours. They know one connection can replace years of labor. Money gives you that access, not because people respect the money, but because they respect the power it represents. Let's be brutally honest, the world is not fair. It never was. The powerful don't play by the same rules as everyone else. Because they wrote the rules, Machiavelli said, "The ends justify the means." And while that may sound cold, it's simply how power operates. Those who understand how to weaponize their wealth, to build influence, to shape perception, to control access, don't just live in the world, they own parts of it. They know that one investment can silence an enemy, one partnership can open 100 doors, one campaign can shape an entire generation's beliefs. That's not conspiracy, that's strategy. But here's where the danger lies. Weaponizing wealth requires wisdom, because if you misuse power, it turns on you. History is full of empires that rose fast and burned faster. Machiavelli warned that a ruler who relies on fear without control eventually becomes a slave of his own paranoia. So yes, use your money to influence, but do it with precision, not ego, with purpose, not greed, because reckless power always destroys itself. The goal isn't to dominate others. The goal is to direct the world toward your vision, to build systems that serve your values, to protect what matters, your name, your legacy, your future. Understand this: power is not granted, it is taken, and it's taken by those who know how to turn their money into motion. When you use your wealth to invest, to influence, to innovate, you are no longer a player in someone else's game. You're the architect, you're the author, and when you become that, no one can touch you. Because true wealth isn't about living lavishly, it's about bending reality. It's about turning your ideas into action, your resources into results, and your name into something that moves through history. That's how Machiavelli would play the modern game. Not with swords, but with strategy. Not with soldiers, but with money as the ultimate weapon. So remember, the poor use money to survive. The middle class use it to feel secure. But the powerful, they use it to control the world around them. And when you reach that level, you don't just have money, you become money. Because everything and everyone starts to move around you. Everything comes with a price. And when you rise high enough, when your fortress stands tall and your influence spreads wide, you begin to feel that price closing in because money gives you power. But it also paints a target on your back. The moment you become powerful, you awaken enemies. You provoke envy, and you discover that wealth doesn't just attract opportunity, it attracts attack. This is the dark side of money, the side no one tells you about. The side Machiavelli warned rulers to always anticipate. See, the poor envy the rich, but the rich, they fear each other. Because at the top, every alliance is temporary. Every smile hides a motive. Every handshake is a test of strength. The more wealth you acquire, the more you realize that trust becomes a luxury, one you can rarely afford. Machiavelli said, "The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." He understood human nature. People will align with you as long as it serves them. The moment your power threatens theirs, they turn. That's why every empire must learn to defend not just its walls, but its reputation, its influence, and its leadership. Because when you become powerful, you stop fighting poverty and start fighting perception. Make no mistake, money magnifies everything, including the hatred aimed at you. The world loves success stories until you become one. They'll cheer for your rise until it threatens their comfort. They'll call you lucky, privileged, corrupt, because labeling your success is easier than confronting their mediocrity. You'll notice it when friends grow distant, when family questions your motives, when the same people who once wanted you to win start praying for your fall. That's the tax of power, not the money you pay, but the peace you lose. Because the higher you climb, the fewer people you can trust. And the lonelier the air becomes. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He advised rulers to never rely too much on love, because love is fickle. But fear endures. What does that mean in today's world? It means you must build respect before affection, influence before intimacy, because respect can protect you. Love cannot. A wealthy man who seeks to be liked will be destroyed by those who pretend to admire him. But a wealthy man who commands respect cannot be ignored, even by his enemies. That's why Machiavellian power is not about being cruel. It's about being cautious. It's about understanding that when you have everything to lose, you must guard yourself like a fortress, inside and out. Let's talk about the psychological price of wealth, the isolation, the pressure, the constant awareness that one wrong move can destroy what took years to build. Every deal you make, every word you say, every alliance you form carries weight. You can't think like everyone else anymore. You can't speak freely. You can't relax in the same way you used to. Because when you're powerful, your words move markets. Your choices affect lives, and your mistakes invite vultures. That's why true wealth requires discipline. It demands strategy. It demands silence. The powerful speak less, not because they're arrogant, but because they understand how expensive every word can be. So how do you survive the dark side of wealth? You become what Machiavelli called a fox and a lion. cunning enough to see danger before it strikes, strong enough to destroy it when it does. You balance mercy with authority. You reward loyalty, but you verify it constantly. You give trust slowly and remove it swiftly when it's broken, because power without paranoia is suicide. Build advisors, not cheerleaders. Build systems that protect you when emotion tries to betray you. Build teams that respect your vision more than they crave your approval. And above all, never forget, the same people who lift you up today will test your throne tomorrow. But here's the paradox. Even with all its dangers, you wouldn't trade it for anything. Because once you've tasted freedom, real freedom, you can never go back to dependence. The dark side of wealth may take your peace at times, but poverty takes your power forever. And when you understand that, you accept the price, you carry the burden. You bear the crown. Because ruling your life, commanding your destiny, is worth every scar it takes to keep it. Machiavelli would say, "The prince who cannot endure the hate of others cannot endure power itself." And that's the truth of the game. You don't escape enemies by being rich. You earn them by being important. So embrace it, the whispers, the envy, the isolation. They are proof that you've left the crowd behind. They are proof that you've risen. Now you understand the truth. You've seen how money shapes power, how influence commands the world, and how every rise comes with its shadows. But this final part, this is the blueprint, the strategy to win the game permanently. Because knowing about power isn't enough. You must know how to play it, and play it in a way where you can never again be ruled, controlled, or broken. This is what Machiavelli would call the art of permanence, building power that lasts beyond your lifetime. So let's break it down. There are 5 Machiavellian laws for mastering the game of wealth, and if you live by them, you will never be a servant to the system again. Law 1, control yourself before you control the world. The first enemy you must conquer is you. Your emotions, your impulses, your distractions. Because money amplifies everything. And if you're undisciplined, wealth will destroy you faster than poverty ever could. Machiavelli said, "A man who cannot master his passions becomes a slave to them." Before you seek control over others, gain absolute control over your reactions, your time, your focus. Self-mastery is the first currency of power. Wake early, plan ruthlessly, act strategically, speak rarely. The calmest man in the room is usually the one who owns it. Law 2, never rely on one source of power, a single income, a single platform, a single ally. These are weak points, vulnerabilities waiting to be exploited. The powerful diversify. They build empires with layers, wealth that moves through business, influence, and investment. If one stream dries up, 10 others keep flowing. Machiavelli would say, dependence is the death of control. Never put your survival in the hands of another man, not a boss, not a company, not a government. Because the one who can cut off your income owns you, and a true Machiavellian ruler is never owned. Law 3, master perception power is not just about what you are, it's about what people believe you are. Perception is a weapon sharper than any blade. It can make the weak appear strong and the strong appear divine. That's why rulers, brands, and billionaires all master narrative. They craft the story before others can write it for them. You don't need to show everything. You show enough to be respected and conceal the rest to remain mysterious. Because when people can't fully understand you, they can't fully control you. Control how you are seen, and you control how the world reacts. Law 4, always be the source. In business, in relationships, in power, be the one who provides value. Because the one who gives what others need never loses relevance. Be the one who introduces people to opportunity. Be the one who builds the room others want to enter. Be the one who holds the keys, not the one begging for entry. This is what Machiavelli called necessita, the art of making yourself indispensable. The world bends around the indispensable. So build systems, businesses, and skills that make you impossible to replace. Because when people need you, they protect you, they follow you, they obey you. That's how kings are made. Law 5, Protect the legacy. Wealth without legacy is temporary. Power without purpose collapses. Your final duty, once you've conquered money, mastered influence, and built empires, is to make it endure. Machiavelli taught that true rulers build systems, not monuments. A monument can be destroyed, but a system, a family structure, an institution, an ideology, lives forever. So teach what you learn. Pass on the strategies, the discipline, the mindset. Build heirs, not dependents. Raise successors, not consumers. Because the true mark of power is when your influence outlives your name. Now you've seen the entire map, you've studied the dark truths. You've faced the uncomfortable reality that money is power, and power is survival. You know now that in a world built on manipulation, you cannot afford to be naive. That freedom is not granted, it's taken. That wealth is not about greed, it's about sovereignty. Machiavelli would tell you this: the one who understands power commands destiny. The one who ignores it becomes a servant to it. So choose. Keep playing small, begging for permission, chasing comfort, living under the rules of others, or rise above it. Learn the game. Play it coldly, wisely, relentlessly. Build your fortress. Weaponize your wealth. Endure the enemies. And rule with strategy, not emotion, because the world doesn't belong to the kind. It belongs to the calculating. It belongs to those who dare to see money not as paper, but as power incarnate. In the end, you will either command money or be commanded by those who do. Machiavelli's truth is eternal, and the choice is yours.